Hello everyone, my name is Madysonarthur, a local real estate broker here in Seattle-Bellevue area, helping buyers, sellers, and sometimes even renters find the right fit in the city. And today we're going to be jumping in to all of the resources, tools, and everything that you need to make the move to Seattle much easier. Now, this video isn't going to cover the basics. We're not just going to be talking about the weather, traffic, politics, those types of things. No, we are going to be jumping in to all of the tools that you need to make your life easier when you move here. Okay, so our first topic of discussion is the transportation systems. So for starters, Seattle is a very car-friendly city, but there's also a lot of public transportation methods and tools that I want to talk a little bit about today. So the first on this list is the Good to Go Pass. This is a $5 pass that you can buy that'll help you waive some of the fees that come along with going on toll bridges and tunnels. It's just really great to have if you're a commuter or someone who drives a lot like me. And there are a couple of different passes you can buy, ranging from, I believe, $5 to $15 that have different premiums, but I have found that the simple $5 one is really great. Now, what are these passes going to be the most useful for? If you live in Seattle, you're probably going to use the SR 99 toll tunnel running under the city a lot, and you might also use the 520 bridge connecting Seattle to Bellevue. Those are the ones I use most often, but there are tolls that run around through the region quite a bit, so it's just a very good, useful thing to buy, and it's only $5, so why wouldn't you do it? Okay, the next helpful tool is if you are a public transportation user, you're going to want to get the Orca card. This is going to help you have easy commute access and payment for the ferries, the buses, light rail. Honestly, anything that you can think of is on the Orca Pass, and it'll set you up for making all of your commute times a lot easier. So there are 3 main ferries that run through Seattle. Depending on where you live, they're really helpful for commuters who might be coming from, like Bainbridge Island or Bremerton. Otherwise, they're just nice to know about because they're super fun day trips. So for northerners, you have the Edmonds and Kingston ferry. And for Seattle, you can go from Bainbridge Island to Seattle or Bremerton. And then moving south, the Fauntleroy ferry around West Seattle goes to Vashon and then Southworth. So overall, very convenient routes and kind of the top 3 that I want to mention to you. Okay, now jumping into the light rail. So the light rail runs all the way from Linwood to the SeaTac Airport, and it is really convenient, fast train system that can get you around the city without the use of a car. I know a lot of people love this type of transportation a lot, and it kind of sits along the I-5 corridor. And then as far as Bellevue goes, there's also a light rail station there that is still kind of being built out, but it goes from southern Bellevue all the way to Redmond. And then in 2026, ideally, there's going to be a route connecting Seattle to Bellevue too, making this entire area just a lot more connected. And then lastly, things to know about driving cars in Seattle is that living along I-5 is quite convenient for a lot of people because this is your main mode of transportation going north and south. So if you live a little bit farther out, like Ballard or West Seattle, sometimes these places can be a little bit more difficult to access. So that is just something to be aware of that I've noticed since moving here. I know that it can be a little bit more expensive to live along I-5, or at least close to it, but it is quite convenient. Now, when it comes to understanding the flow of traffic in Seattle, we sit along a lot of water, so just be aware that bridges like the Ballard Bridge, the Fremont Bridge, 520, West Seattle, they get bottlenecked during rush hour traffic, so you're going to have to be a little bit careful in understanding commute times and figuring out where you might want to live if you're someone who drives to work so that you don't have to be stuck in those bottlenecks. I work for myself, so I just try not to have scheduled meetings or client appointments happen during rush hour traffic. Sometimes it's out of your control, but it's just something that I like and I try to do. So if you're self-employed, consider that, but if you do work from home, maybe you live in areas that are less accessible at times because they do have a lot of their own resources all around, but just overall something to keep in mind. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the neighborhood vibes and kind of atmospheres around the greater region so you understand what might be a good fit for you. I do have videos that I post specifically talking about each of these neighborhoods and each of these regions, so if you want to learn more detailed information, I'll have those linked for you to watch. But just as a general recap, let's talk about it. So we're first going to start with the northern area. So when looking at a map, you've got Everett, Linwood, Mill Creek, and Bothell. These areas are very suburban. You are going to have some main streets, and each of these areas does have a nice downtown, but generally speaking, it's a very traditional suburb. The same goes for Redmond, Issaquah, Sammamish, and extending out a little bit further, you'll find more rural areas. Moving to what I like to call urban suburban, you have quite a few neighborhoods surrounding Seattle. These are your neighborhoods where each subsection does have a downtown strip with lots of restaurants and bars and walkability, but they also have decently large lot sizes, and you'll be able to find quite a good mix of apartments, townhomes, and single-family homes. Lots of the neighborhoods are tree-lined streets and cute, charming cottages and craftsmen's, things like that. So you're going to find this style of living in North Seattle. Think Ravenna, Fremont, Wallingford, Ballard, and Green Lake, even extending all the way north closer to Shoreline. You'll also find this in parts of the Central District, closer to Madison Park and Madrona, Lachey, Mount Baker too, and kind of the Rainier Valley, Beacon Hill area. Same with Seward Park. And then you'll also find this in lots of West Seattle as well. Now, if you're looking for a more urban feel, places with lots of apartments and some high-rise buildings, but kind of still somewhat relaxed, you're not directly downtown, you're gonna like Queen Anne, Capitol Hill, East Lake, South Lake Union, West Lake, and Belltown as well. These are kind of your more urban neighborhoods, but again, you're not going to be next to a bunch of sky-rise buildings, but you still have close access to the hub of the city. And then if you're looking for urban convenience, you will find, of course, that downtown Seattle has everything that you need. There's lots of sky-rise buildings here, there's tons going on. It's obviously your very traditional part of the city. You'll also find a similar feel in downtown Bellevue, as it has grown quite a bit. But again, the surrounding areas of Bellevue go quite quickly from an urban downtown to a relaxed suburb. That's kind of what I have to recommend in terms of what lifestyle you're looking for. A couple untouched spots like Mercer Island in Magnolia are also kind of urban suburban, but lots of beautiful luxury homes in those areas. So overall, hopefully that helps you have a better understanding of just the surrounding areas, but again, I have lots of detailed information and other videos that detail these neighborhoods much better. So let's move on to the next topic. So our next topic is local amenities and resources. Now, after living here for a while, I've compiled a ton of things that I think are just so helpful to know. Okay, so the first is the Seattle in Progress website. Now, I will preface this by saying everything that I mentioned today I will link down below so you have easy access to it. But anyways, the Seattle in Progress website is super helpful for those interested in how their home value or city will change over time. So it's a map that details all of the upcoming developments, changes, and honestly anything new happening to the city of Seattle. And it can be so helpful if you're someone who just wants to keep a pulse on what's going on in their community or understand how their home value or just general neighborhood will change over time. So now we're going to talk about the Seattle Public Library system. So the first thing to know is that if you live in King County, you can actually register for the King County Library System and the Seattle Public Library System. Same goes for Bellevue. This is really helpful because if you want to have access to a specific book that has low inventory, you might be able to find one or the other in the different library systems. Something that you can do is tie your Seattle Public Library account or King County Public Library account to Libby, which is a digital app where you can read books, and it holds all of the digital copies from these libraries. So instead of having to go and get a physical book, you can just download it right on your phone. And I found this to be such an amazing way to read. It's just a really helpful resource and something I wanted to mention if you are a big book reader like I am. Okay, so the next is the local Facebook groups around here. There are so many helpful resources if you're a neighbor or if you're looking for a specific community, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But for specifics, there is a community that I love called the Ballard Buy Nothing This is where people have postings of unwanted furniture typically, or household items that, they just need to get rid of if they're going through a big move, and you can find tons of amazing free stuff there. But in general, the Facebook Marketplace community here is awesome, and so is the Ballard by Nothing. They're great resources. Kind of talking about neighborhoods in that same conversation, another thing to be aware of is called the Nextdoor app. I'm sure there are other cities that have other resources, but Seattle particularly uses Nextdoor for a way to connect all neighbors and keep them aware on local happenings, plus, dangerous things that have happened, or honestly just anything to be aware of in your neighborhood. And I found this to be just nice to have on my phone. So for parents, there's a couple helpful resources I wanted to bring up. The first one is called Parent Map. This is a website that has local events, activities, and exciting things to do with your kids, and they're always updating it and keeping it fresh, so you'll never run out of things to do. Also, for kids or even just those interested, the museums have a ton of free days, so just make sure you check the museum websites. So that's kind of a fun activity to be aware of. And when it comes to just activities and fun things to do in Seattle, one of my favorite resources is the Curiosity website. This is a website that constantly updates all of the fun things to do in the city. But you can also just use ChatGPT, and I actually have tons of fun recommendations come from that as well. So if you're moving to Seattle, I'm sure one of the reasons is probably because of the outdoor activities here. If you're a skier, if you love lakes or water activities, hiking, anything outdoor related, this is going to be an amazing city for you. So I have two helpful kind of tips or resources that I recommend you looking into. The first is the All Trails app. This is a resource where you can see all of the local trails and hiking paths you can take. I believe there's even recommendations from people or ratings that you can do, but it's just a helpful resource, so definitely one to download. Another is that you're going to have to get what's called the Discovery Pass. This is a pass that you can attach to your car. Essentially anywhere in Washington you go, they're probably going to have you either pay a fee or have the pass, and it's not that expensive, so I just definitely recommend getting it. For outdoor recreation, there's also one other thing I wanted to mention, and that is you can go to Seattle government if you're interested in reserving a tennis court, and you can book out an entire court for just, I think, $15 or so. So I think this is a really fun and good thing to know if you have a big group of people and you might be hosting some sort of a party. All of the local parks are free, of course, but this is just nice if you want to make sure that it's fully booked out for you. I typically don't have a problem, but again, if you do have a big event or a situation where you really want to make sure that it's fully yours for a good period of time, this is a good resource and one I recently found. Now, the other nice thing about it is that you can also find local parks through this website. So if you're not sure where to go, you can just look on this website and find all of the courts in your neighborhood. So that's kind of a nice perk as well if you're into pickleball, tennis, or that kind of thing. Okay, so some things to be aware of for the Seattle homeowners or renters out there. So the first thing is understanding the weekly cycle of home buying. Now, I have a lot of videos that talk about this in more detail, but I think something a lot of people would benefit from understanding is the weekly cycle of real estate here. So condos and townhomes are a little different. There's a lot more inventory for them, but if you're looking for a traditional single-family home in the greater area, same goes for Bellevue as well. Things typically happen on a weekly cycle. So you have a property go live on Wednesday or Thursday, and then you have about the whole weekend to do your due diligence. So that means inspections, sewer scopes, reviewing your title report, all of the information you need to know to make sure the home's a good investment. You get all of that either from the seller or by doing your own home inspection, and then you prepare your offer for the following Tuesday or Wednesday, which we call the offer review day. So what I mean to say is that real estate moves super fast. Homes might be on the market on a Monday or a Tuesday and be off the market in 1 week's time with multiple offers. So it's super critical to be ready to go with a pre-approval letter and a real estate broker once you start your home search. This is something that I can help out with, so if you're interested in learning more, let's connect. I have all my information linked down below. Okay, so on the rental side of things, another interesting thing to be aware of is that There are actually rules in Seattle where if you're the first person who applies to an apartment and you qualify, you will get it. So ultimately, if you're a homeowner looking to rent out your property, this is important to be aware of. You cannot select your tenant, really. You just have to accept whoever qualifies. Bellevue does not have this rule, so tenants can be rejected, homeowners can deny applications, but just know that that's a Seattle-specific thing that, can be nice for home renters, maybe not so great for homeowners, but just a rule to be aware of. Comparing rentals in terms of pets for both Bellevue and Seattle is also something I want to touch on. Bellevue is sometimes more strict on pet rules, Seattle a lot less strict, but that's my own personal experience, so comment down below if you found that to be the case. Okay, so that's it for my video today, but I can imagine that there's hundreds of more things to share, so comment down below any questions you have or topics you'd like me to discuss further, because I'm happy to make another part 2 or continue the series on. But I hope that helped you gain a little bit of confidence to prepare you for your move to Seattle, or if you live here, have a few more resources to help you navigate this large, ever-changing city. If you want to learn more about Seattle neighborhoods, I have a ton of resources and videos I've created, or if you want to learn more about the home buying or selling process, I have resources for those of you as well. And if you'd like to connect about buying or selling in the region, feel free to find my information linked down below. Once again, I'm a local real estate broker here, and I enjoy helping people all throughout Northwest Washington buy or sell. It's something I really enjoy. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I wish you an amazing rest of your day. Bye.